Good evening, everyone. If you don't know me, my name is Jessica Thomas, and I am a licensed clinical social worker. And I work with people that are living with neurological disease. I'm a mental health clinician, a counselor. And tonight we're going to be talking about addressing the emotional needs of the MS caregiver. So I am so thankful that you are here and on this program this evening, and I hope that you're going to benefit a lot from it. So we're going to move on to be able to thank our sponsors. This program is, brought to you by MS Views and News, and we are incredibly thankful for their MS Mental Wellness Chat and their dedication to the series, especially during COVID. We have all really needed this. But we need to also thank our sponsors because this program would not be possible without them. So thank you to JANSSEN, a pharmaceutical company of Johnson & Johnson, Novartis, EMD SERONO, BIOGEN, BRISTOL-MYERS, SQUIBB. Thank you so very much, and EMD SERONO, for your support and helping us to bring this program to people that need it, and for tonight for caregivers and people living with multiple sclerosis. So we'll move on. So before we get started, I always like to, actually before we do this, I'll tell you a little bit more about myself because I don't think I put one of those slides in this presentation. So I've been working with people living with MS for over, goodness, is it 15 years now. And I have worked in different capacities, but my biggest passion really has been helping people in the area of emotional needs and emotional wellness. And I also have MS myself, and I always think that's important to mention. I've been living with MS for almost 16 years. So my professional journey, my personal journey actually led to my professional journey, and that is why I'm here. We have Maddie says hi. Jessica says hi. She's glad she could make it tonight. She could use some information. Tina says that she keeps getting headaches, wiped out. I'm sure many of you guys can understand. Tammy has MS. Joyce is a person living with MS. Jill, person with MS. Jessica and Boylan, both living with MS. We have a lot of people living with MS. We have Cheryl is a spouse. Her husband was diagnosed. Nora has MS. And Crystal is here with her husband, so I'm glad both of you guys are here. Cheryl is overwhelmed, and she's raising an 11-year-old, so I know that's a tricky thing to be a parent with MS. And Laura says she has MS and she's a caregiver, so awesome. And then Stephanie says that she has MS as well. So we have a lot of people with MS, and we have some care partners here too. I am 120% comfortable with whoever is on this program tonight. And let me tell you why. The reason is that everything that I'm going to share is very beneficial for an MS caregiver or a person living with multiple sclerosis or just a general caregiver. So a lot of the things that I'm going to be sharing really benefits everybody. But if you are a person that is living with MS and say that you don't necessarily have a caregiver, that maybe you have a husband, or a wife, a friend, whatever, I want you to be comfortable, or if you know other caregivers in your life, I want you to be comfortable with sharing some of these resources. So I'm going to hold it to myself as somebody with MS to make sure that I'm giving resources to my husband, because he is kind of my care partner, you could say. And I hope that you guys can do that too for the people that love you, so we can make sure that the people that are there to support us also have resources and self-care as well. So we're going to go on to our next slide here. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about choosing self-care. I am going to spend a lot of time on tools. So I'm going to provide like a little bit of psychoeducation and a lot of tools and resources. So tonight, if you wanted to have a little bit of calm in your environment, I want you to know that you signed up for the right program, because we're going to do some things that can help, some relaxation strategies, and some exercises and things that can help you feel a little bit better. We're also going to talk about building your setting boundaries, building your own support team. Again, this is something that is very beneficial to both the person living with multiple sclerosis and the caregiver. So we're going to move on to our next slide. So just a basic thing right here. What can self-care be? I have conversations with so many people about self-care, and it's incredibly interesting to me, because self-care means something different to everybody. But I think that this slide is a really good example of some general things. So self-care can be asking for help. It can be forgiving yourself, being compassionate to yourself. It could be staying home. Self-care can also be going out with a friend. It could be setting boundaries, asking for what you need. It could be putting yourself first. It could be saying no, setting boundaries. So self-care doesn't have to be just getting a massage or going to get my nails done or taking a hot bubble bath. Sometimes we think that self-care has to be a tangible thing that we can touch, but sometimes self-care is not that. It's setting boundaries, choosing yourself, giving yourself space, etc. So we're going to move on to a next slide. So this is an idea that I want all of us to consider, every single one of you. Choosing self-care is something that you have to do. I can't do it for you, and you can't do it for me. But we have to choose self-care in order to really be able to take care of ourselves. And so for the caregiver, you know, there's a quote here, and I'll read it, but it's so important to know. Rest and self-care are so important. When you take time to replenish your spirit, it allows you to serve from the overflow, and you can't serve from an empty vessel. This is true for every single person. But self-care doesn't happen on its own. And I'm hoping that by the end of today's program, that you will have negotiated within yourself maybe a little bit of time each day or time each week to kind of carve for yourself to take care of you. And if you are a person with MS, multiple sclerosis, on this call tonight, I would love for you to remember and to encourage your loved ones to take care of themselves and to support them in their self-care efforts. So I hope that's a commitment that you will be able to do. Now, I have a question here. And it's from Elizabeth. She says, how do we see the slides? And Elizabeth, and there's some other questions here I'm going to answer in a little bit. You should be able to see the slides automatically. If you can answer back real quick, can you only see me? Or can you only hear me? If you cannot see the slides, I don't want you to worry about this today, because what will happen is that you can see the recorded version of this and you're going to have access to the slides. And if we have an overwhelming need for the slides, I can make sure they get emailed to you. So do not worry, okay? I just want to make sure. Yeah, Tina says she can only see and hear me. So some of you guys might actually not be able to see our slides. So we'll see. We have someone that works on the technology here, and he'll peek and see if we can show you the slides as well. And if anybody can see the slides, please say, I can see the slides, and that will help me a ton. But I'm going to move on to the next slide, and we're going to talk about this concept here. So checking in with your battery. Okay, we have some people that can see the slides, so that is hopeful. So if you cannot see the slides, I want you to remember that I will make sure that you get access to them, and to not worry that when we get off of this program, we will make sure that you get access to the slides, if it's tomorrow, the next day, etc. Okay, so I want you to check your battery. And this is an important thing to do because sometimes we just go through our day and we just keep going and going and going. And if you're living with multiple sclerosis like me, sometimes you can realize, oh gosh, I am like empty and I didn't recharge myself. You know, I really have kind of overextended myself. And it's important to be able to kind of check in with your battery and see how you're feeling. So I want all of you. So there's a little slide here. It seems like most people can see the slides now. And there's this visual here, kind of like checking in with your battery. How are you currently feeling? Feeling great, feeling okay, struggling, feeling good, meh. I'm empty. And I want you to think about, and we're going to go to the next slide. I want you to think about where are you? What is your battery level? And I'm going to ask us to go back to the previous slide one more time real quick, so that way people can look at also the battery. So are you feeling okay? You know, feeling great. I'm empty. So I'd like for you in the question box to kind of write down like where you are with your battery. And I will get us started. So my battery, I'm actually feeling pretty good, and I can tell you why. My secret is I took a nap before this program, and so when I take a nap before programs, I tend to feel much better. So I'm feeling pretty good right now. So we have some people that are feeling good. We have some people that are feeling meh. I can understand that. Some people are struggling. You know, so we've got some really good. Some people have been feeling really tired. One person's been running since 6 a.m., so I get that. That's exhausting. And one person says getting low because it's been nonstop all day. So for those of you that are a little bit low on energy, we're going to do some things hopefully that can help kind of calm your evening down. But I want you to think about, you know, when you are feeling low or feeling empty, kind of what strategies can you put in place to kind of help recharge a little bit? I know for me, a nap is incredibly important. But for some people, there might be something else that you can do. If you're feeling kind of meh, you know, could you do something to be kind for yourself, to yourself today? And we're going to talk a little bit about self-compassion here in a bit too. So we're going to move on 2 slides up now. And thank you so much for participating. So the first thing that I would like to do with the idea of self-care is to help us let go of guilt. Now, I know if you're living with MS, if you're just by being human, we deal with guilt sometimes. Sometimes caregivers can deal with guilt as well. And sometimes even with self-care, people can have a hard time taking care of themselves because they feel guilty. If I take care of myself, if I take time to myself, then I'm not helping the person that needs help, etc. And so I want us to kind of envision giving us a space tonight at least, and hopefully going forward, of letting go of some of that guilt, that you're worthy of your self-care, that you're human with needs too. And the notion of putting yourself first is important. So we have to let go of the idea that it's wrong, because it's not. That's exactly what we need to do, is put ourselves first, and that you don't need to feel guilty or selfish for that. And move on to the next slide. So we are going to practice a breathing exercise. And this is something that I would like for everybody to do. And there's a lot of different breathing exercises that we can do, but my favorite one right now is one where we do a extended exhale. And I'll explain it here in a second, but we breathe in through our nose. And so we'll breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth. And our exhale is going to be twice as long as our inhale. And the reason why is that our exhale, when it is longer, it activates our parasympathetic nervous system, which helps to calm our body. And if you had like an Apple Watch or a Fitbit or some technology, if your heart rate was up at a certain point, you would find that sometimes doing this type of breathing activity can help lower your heart rate a little bit, that it can help to relax your body if you don't have any other medical issues. So I want to give you that credence. But so we're going to, I want everyone to kind of sit down. I'm imagining you're probably sitting down anyways, and to allow yourself to get comfortable. And I want you to take 2 breaths like you would if you were at a doctor's office, you know, when they have the stethoscope. So you breathe in, you know, nice and deep, and then you breathe out through your mouth. And then I want you to do that one more time. And then I want you to settle into your normal breathing pattern for just a second. And then when it's time for our exercise, I'm going to lead you into breathing. We're going to inhale for a count of 3, and we're going to exhale for a count of 6. So on your next inhale, I want you to breathe in for 2, 3, and exhale for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, inhale for 2, 3, and exhale for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale for 2, 3, and exhale for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to do one more set of this, and we're going to try to breathe, inhale to 4 and exhale to 8. And as you're exhaling, I want you to envision that you're letting go of a lot of stress. So we will breathe in for 2, 3, 4, and exhale for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Last time, breathe in for 2, 3, 4, and exhale for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. In the question box, I'd love to know how that felt. Have you ever did a breathing exercise like that before? I love to ask because sometimes we always breathe, but we don't take time to really do cleansing breaths. So I have some people saying that that this felt great. So that is perfect. What we want to do is breathing helps us to kind of feel calm, and that's something that we can access very easily and very readily, no matter where we are. And someone, Jessica said, I did breathing like this in my music class, and it feels great. Very good. So we have a lot of good feedback on the breathing, which is great. We're going to move on to our next slide here. And this is just a little bit about practicing patience. And I believe that caregivers, spouses, people with MS even, we are incredibly patient people because we have to deal with a lot of challenges. But I want to give you these tools if you are in a place where you're struggling with feeling overwhelmed or frustrated. I want to give you just these quick 3 strategies. And the first one is managing expectations. This is very helpful with the idea of patience, because if you have very high expectations and your reality, say that the reality is here, but you have high expectations and your reality is here, what's going to happen is you have a big drop. So if you can manage your expectations to be a little bit more realistic, a lot of times whatever the event is going to be is going to happen in a way that is more realistic. I'll give you an example. When I want to leave for a trip or a vacation, doesn't happen much, especially during COVID, but I always think that my family's going to be ready. They're going to be ready super early like I am, and we're going to leave, and it's going to be easy and fun, and we'll be in the car and we'll get going because I like to be early. If I always think that that's going to happen, the reality is never that. we're always leaving late. We're always running behind. My family's so relaxed, and I'm so not in that sense. So if I manage my expectations, I make it more realistic, then I don't get disappointed, so to say, or I don't get as frustrated. The other tip is zooming out. And this, I think, is a really helpful strategy. So when you're finding yourself frustrated, about anything, I think the idea of zooming out is good. So I would like for you to imagine that you're stepping back away from whatever it is that you're frustrated about, and you're looking at it from a different angle. And the reason is that you're doing this is that, one, it could give you a different perspective, but then also, two, it kind of helps to give you some sense of how big that problem is, or maybe getting you away from it so you realize that it's not as big as maybe it feels like. Or I'll use my silly example of wanting to leave for vacation. I might feel very frustrated about it, but if I zoom out, I can realize, you know what, I'm going on a vacation. I'm very thankful for this, or I'm thankful my family's with me. So zooming out can really help to give you a perspective. And then the third thing is asking for help. For everyone here, I think it is in good practice. It is really important for you to know that it's okay to lean in and asking for help, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed, overloaded, even if it's for a small task. Often people want to help, but they will not know that you need help unless you ask for it. And a way to practice patience is actually asking for help instead of trying to hold on to all the tasks and the activities, etc. I'm going to go to the, Tammy said zooming out helps a lot. Thank you, Tammy, for that. That's really helpful feedback, because I do this a lot and I do this with my patients, but I want you guys to hear what you do as well, and so it can be reassuring as well. So we're going to move on to the next slide. So this next tool, we're going to create a mantra. And this is kind of fun, and so I hope that we can't take a lot of time on it, and maybe if you can't come up with a mantra right away, maybe this is something that that you think about tonight or tomorrow, later this week, etc. So if you were to break down the word mantra, man means mind and tra would mean tool. So you're essentially coming up with a mind tool. A mantra is a statement, a small phrase, something that can give you a sense of hope if you need it, or a sense of power, or a sense of confidence. And mantras can be really powerful. If you come up with a mantra and you use it every day, you start to believe some of the things that you tell yourself. It's sort of like if you told yourself something negative every day, you would feel kind of bad, and you probably would start to buy into that thought. Well, the mantra is supposed to be developed to kind of help remind you of the power that you have, etc. So what I like in terms of the idea of creating a mantra is first exploring. It's 3 steps, but the first step is exploring, okay, what are the current challenges that I have? Because that will help you just sort of identify what type of mantra that you would want. And that's step 1 is the challenges and understanding them. Step 2 is that I want you to dig deep and think about times that you have persevered, that you have been able to utilize something within you, and that you have overcome a difficult challenge or a problem. And how did you do that? Often when we're faced with a challenge, we forget that we have managed a lot of hard things in our past. And so it's really important to be able to think about the tools, the resources that you used in the past, and kind of what you have, even if it's hidden right now and you don't know where it is. But if you can think about it and write it down, it can help you a little bit. And then the third part of creating a mantra is actually creating the mantra. And a mantra should be, just that small phrase, a small statement. I'll give you an example of some mantras that that I use and some of my clients use. So one that I use is, I can do hard things. I remind that to myself often if I'm faced with a challenge. I remember, I can do hard things. Jill said, live in the moment. That is such a good mantra, because if you're in a place where you're, like you're kind of worried about the future, or you're feeling anxious or anything, you remind yourself, live in the moment. That can bring you back to the future, to the present. Another one that people use, some of my patients, is, I am enough. And that can be really reassuring for people. I am enough just feels good to hear, because sometimes we can be challenged in that area and feel like we're not doing and not doing all the things that we should be doing. We don't have the energy that we have, etc., that we feel like we should have, etc. Now, if any of you guys have a mantra that you use, please put it in the question box if you're willing to share. I find that this is really powerful for people to share and hear each other's phrases. And if you don't have a mantra, this is something that might be very helpful to think of. Now, for some of my caregivers, my care partners, there's a mantra that I like, that's, taking care of myself is necessary, is a priority. So we have, Lisa has, you've got this. That's a great one. Pam, I love yours. Be me. That is great. Tammy's is, I'm a good advocate for myself. These are great. Maddie says, all right, I can do this. I love this. Let's see if any other ones come in. Not yet. So we're going to move on to our next slide, but you can see that right there, having a mantra can be really good. So if you can think about this, if you're stressed out, or if you need a little bit of encouragement, if you can tell yourself, you've got this, that feels good and that feels encouraging. There is a lot of power with mantras. Melissa also said, accept your new normal. That's a good mantra too. Accept your new normal. So we're going to move on and talk a little bit about practicing. Actually, go back one more. Yes, practicing self-compassion. And so it is, as a helper myself, and as a human myself too, a person, that it's very common to really be compassionate towards other people. For a lot of people, it's very easy to be compassionate towards others. Sometimes it can be hard to be as compassionate to other people, or as compassionate to yourself as you are to other people. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever dealt with that challenge before, where it was easier to be kinder to someone else than it was even to yourself. But I want to share that practicing self-compassion is an incredibly important thing. It's very helpful for people with MS to do, and it's very important for caregivers as well. And it allows you to, by practicing self-compassion, it really allows you to accept yourself, accept where you are in your emotions, and it also allows you to sort of just be in the moment, and not be mean, to show yourself empathy. So I'm going to share a little bit about self-compassion. So self-compassion really has three components. And the first component that it has is self-kindness. So this is like being kind to yourself, not being mean. I don't know, and I'm sure that someone on our program tonight has experienced saying something mean to yourself, like giving yourself a criticism, etc. Self-compassion doesn't do that. Self-compassion is meeting yourself with kindness. It's also recognizing your own humanity, that we're all people, we're imperfect, really imperfect, and we all experience difficulties and challenges. And the other aspect of self-compassion is allowing us to maintain a awareness of our experiences, even if they're not pleasant, rather than ignoring or exaggerating their effect. So we're being really present with difficult things in the moment. And Patricia has such a good statement that's going to partner with something I'm going to say. She said, talk to yourself in the way you would talk to your pet. Oh, you're so beautiful. Oh, I love you. I love this, Patricia, and I love you for putting that there, because that's so true. That is a really good strategy. So some ways to practice self-compassion. One is listen to what Patricia just said, because that was really good advice. One of the things that I say is talk to yourself like you would a friend. We often will talk to our friends and give our friends advice, or meet them with a problem or a challenge with so much empathy, kindness, and grace, and we don't offer that to ourselves. And so if you can practice and think about, well, how would I talk to a friend about this? What would I tell my best friend? The chances are you can rearrange how and do this for yourself and show yourself some self-compassion. You also could write yourself a letter. This can be really helpful to write yourself a letter and meet yourself in that letter with words of caring, kindness, consideration. Give yourself the support that you need. And then taking care of the caregiver. This is an exercise for self-compassion where you're taking care of you because you need to take care of you, and that helps you to take care of others as well. So with self-compassion, there's a lot of different things that you can do, but I want you to see if you can hone in on nice ways to talk to yourself. And it doesn't mean that you don't acknowledge your feelings. You might be having a difficult time, but meeting yourself with kindness and grace and knowing that you're enough. We're going to move on to the next slide. Okay, so I know I've given you guys a lot of tools here, and I know this was my my purpose today was that whoever comes on this program is going to leave with some tools, and that I would spend this hour with you guys making sure that I was meeting the needs of providing resources more than just talking about the importance of self-care. So it's a lot of resources here, so just hang with me. This tool, this resource, has a mindfulness component, which is incredibly important, especially as I am focusing on caregivers tonight. Mindfulness is important, but it's important for people living with MS and anybody else really in general too. But I'm going to share a technique that I use and that I share with many of my patients. And this technique is really helpful to manage stress, and it incorporates mindfulness. And I think it's, to me, it's a winner in terms of one way to manage something if you're dealing with some challenges. So the acronym is called STOP. And so you can visualize it as a stop sign, or you can just visualize it as the word stop, but I will explain exactly what I want you to do. So when you are feeling overwhelmed, anxious, frustrated, angry, irritated, exhausted, really anything, I want you to think about utilizing this tool if you're feeling stressed, etc. Because what happens is that often in life, every day, we have a lot of stimulus, things that happen that create our feelings and our emotions. And a lot of times we just kind of go on and we keep going and we keep going. So if something made you frustrated, a lot of times you just kind of keep going, right? Well, I'm trying to teach you to stop for a moment, and we can figure out how to manage the stress so that way it doesn't continue to build. So the S stands for literally stopping. So what I like for people to do at this point is if they notice that they're feeling something and they need to kind of take a break, is to go and sit down somewhere. You know, if you're able to lay down, but most people usually are, you know, sitting up at home and they're not in a place where they can lay down. But and if you're out in the community or something, maybe go away, kind of go to a different spot for a couple of minutes. Remove yourself from kind of the area that you're in if you can. And and you get yourself comfortable and you sit down. T stands for taking breaths. And I showed you a really good breathing exercise, and to me that's the perfect one to incorporate. But it's important just to breathe in, because to inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth, and allowing yourself to feel the breath coming in and the breath coming out, and allowing yourself to feel some of the sense of calm while that's happening. So you would want to take a couple of breaths, maybe for a minute or two, just to kind of help yourself get to a natural rhythm of breathing, and that will help to calm a little bit. And then O stands for observe. Since you've done the breathing, your body's going to relax a little bit, and it's going to give you the opportunity to really observe a little bit what's going on. So what I want you to do here is to observe your body. Notice, is there any tension or tightness anywhere, including in your face? I know when I'm really stressed, I clench my jaw, so I'll have to loosen my mouth a little bit. Some people have a lot of tension in their neck or their back, and they might notice that they're more tense there. So just trying to let your body kind of soften in areas that you might be feeling tense. And then we want you here, as you're observing, to be really aware where you are emotionally right now too. Is there a sense of calm or ease, or are you feeling kind of restless or irritated, or are you feeling sad? Or maybe you're feeling just kind of neutral. Whatever, you know, it is that you're feeling, just see if you can be aware of it and notice how it feels physically in your body. Sometimes when I do this observation exercise, I can realize that, like, I'm tired. And often it starts because I feel kind of grumpy, and I do this exercise, and I realize, you know what, I'm actually kind of tired. I feel physically tired. But in this part, you're going to continue to observe yourself physically and emotionally in the moment, and you're going to let things sort of just be. And be aware in this time during the observation is, you know, is your mind cluttered? Is it distracted? And either way, it's okay just to be there, but just to observe how it is in the moment. And then the moment we notice that our mind is off is a moment we're present. So you settle in and be aware of kind of where you are physically and mentally, and let yourself to just be here. So this O is pretty important in observation. You're really just allowing yourself to relax and understand where you are. And then the P stands for proceed. And proceed is essentially just asking yourself, what is the most important thing for me to pay attention to right now? Or what do I need right now? And allow yourself, whatever the answer is, to simply percolate and arise and proceed with whatever it is that you need. Now, I wanted to stop here and just see if there's any questions about some of these tools that I've shared, because I know I went through a lot, but the stop tool has been one of my favorite ones recently, because it incorporates kind of everything, and then it gives you space to kind of to really take care of yourself and come up with a plan of what you need to do next. I'm going to see if there's any questions that have come in for any of these activities. We can move on to the next slide, but if questions come in, I'm going to be ready to answer them. Okay, so Crystal asked what T is. So T stands for taking breath. So taking a couple of breaths. So the S is for stopping. You stop your body. You kind of remove yourself from the situation. You sit down if you can. The T is really for taking breaths, so for breathing. And then the O is that observation, that you're observing your mind and your body and how you feel physically. And then the P is for coming up with a plan. You know, what do you need to do to take care of yourself, or what is the next step, or what do you need? And okay, so we're going to move on to setting boundaries. Does anyone on here on the call this evening, or the program this evening, struggle with setting boundaries? You can just say yes or no. It's something many of my patients are challenged with, because it can be very hard to say no to people, and often for self-care, setting boundaries is one of the primary things. Oh my goodness, like you guys are great. Thank you so much. I have yes, 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 yes. We have a lot of people that struggle with setting boundaries. One of the kindest things that you can do for yourself and to take care of yourself really is to learn how to set boundaries. And it's something that a skill that you can learn, that you can slowly implement and continue to practice. We have one person, there are actually two people. Patricia said she does not struggle with it, but she has had to, something that she's had to learn over the time. And I'm right with you, Patricia. I don't really struggle with it now, but I sure enough did for a long time. And then Tammy said that she used to, but not now. And the Crystal said, yes, absolutely, with family members. Crystal, you are not probably the only one in reference to family members there. So setting boundaries, this probably could be a whole program on itself, and I think people would appreciate it. But I'm going to condense it to just a couple of steps. So one of the things I think is important is understanding what you do and don't have energy for. And that's an important thing. So as a caregiver, kind of knowing what you do and don't have energy for, but also as a person with MS, what do you have energy and don't have energy for? I know many of people that I work with living with multiple sclerosis are challenged with other people in their world thinking they have more time because maybe they're not working. But just because you're not working doesn't mean that you have tons of time to run errands for other people and to like to physically exhaust yourself. That's a common theme for some of the people I've worked with in the past. So the one idea is to kind of know, like, how much space and time do you have, and extra time after taking care of yourself, because you are the priority here. Now, I think it can be really helpful for the people that do struggle with setting boundaries to have a phrase to use. One of my go-to phrases is, I'm not sure if I can do that. Let me check my calendar and I'll get back with you. That buys me time to really see, one, if I want to do it and if I have the energy to do it. It is also okay to say, prepare a phrase that says, I'm so sorry, I would like to help, but I actually can't. I don't have the time or energy. You can be very honest. If anyone has any advice or phrases that they use, I know for me, I've learned that I don't commit on the spot anymore. I'd rather go back, circle back, and think about it unless I absolutely know I have to say no right away. And so that leads me into the second part, is taking time to give a response. I think that pause is really important, because sometimes if you are a person that easily will say yes to things, you can often fall in the trap of overcommitting. And that can make it really hard for you. And here's the deal. If you're a care partner, caregiver, or a person living with MS, your time is valuable. And you need to protect the space and time and energy that you have for yourself. And that's the third point. I didn't realize I'm talking through all my points, but you need to protect that, because you are the keeper of your time. Now, I have one person that Patricia said that one of the things that she says is, I'm not able to right now. I hope you can find someone who can help. That is beautifully kind and very helpful. Thank you, Patricia, for sharing that, because that's a really good phrase. And then the fourth part of setting boundaries is valuing your needs. And making sure that your needs come as priority. It does not make you unkind or unhelpful to not be able to do something. In the future and other MS mental wellness chats, we will talk more about boundaries, because I think this is a topic that is very popular for people. But I just wanted to introduce it a little bit and encourage you to set some boundaries. We're going to move on to our next slide. So asking for help and building a support team. This is something I've mentioned a lot with my programs for people with multiple sclerosis, and I think that this is equally as true and as important for care partners and caregivers as well. So it's important to grow your connections. And I wish, I know things are remote right now with COVID, and things have been a little, harder to connect, but growing your connections is really important. And I don't know if any of you have utilized any virtual, support groups and such, but I hope that you have if you've been able to or have the capacity to do. Growing your connections is really important. Also connecting with other people like you. And so when I say that if you are a care partner, to connect with other care partners, because there's nothing that beats talking to someone who understands some aspects of your life. I know for me, my husband, he helps out a lot with my son, or our son, and I found it important over the years to make sure he's connected, and he talks to other spouses where their wives have MS, and I just so he has some connections in that area. And of course, for people living with MS, we know the value and the connection of each other. And so for care partners, we want the same. And, all connections need, nurturing. And so if you find that you can see a caregiver support group in your area, or if there's something online that you can participate in, it does take a little bit of effort to grow these connections and to nurture them. But over time, you are more than likely going to find a person or a couple people that you can connect with that are kind of a part of your support team. Now, they might not be taking over tasks for you, but maybe emotionally they're helping just provide a little bit of support, or just even reassurance sometimes, or maybe even tips or strategies. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to go back to the beginning, because I felt like there was a question or two that I saw that I just want to make sure that I didn't miss before I go on to the next part. Okay, we had someone with MS and had a question about his foot was just cold all the time. What can he use? And so I appreciate your question. He said like a balm or a lotion. And I'm not really sure. What I'm going to recommend is that you talk with your doctor about that. They may have a specific thing, but I can definitely tell you that there are probably people on this webinar that can understand that they some of a similar sensation. And if anyone has any a tip, you can feel free to put in. And then the other question I had is, suppose you need a therapist and she's not familiar with MS or chronic disease, especially neurological disease. I understand something about caregiving. I'm sorry, that was a little bit harder for me. Okay, so if you need to help your therapist understand MS, what I would recommend is, or if you need a therapist that, and you're looking for one that specializes in MS, there's not many of us that specialize specifically in MS or specifically in neurological disease, but I can assure you that therapists, there are a lot out there that have a very strong understanding of chronic disease, and through that, they'll have experience with other neurological diseases like Parkinson's Parkinson's disease, MS, etc. And so a lot of the therapy approaches can be very helpful. Just seeing a therapist that has some experience in chronic disease. And then I think I'm going to be answering this a little bit, the other part of the question. For anybody that is caregiving from a long distance or a far distance, that you love someone that doesn't live close to you and you're trying to, sorry, my watch is talking to me, what I would recommend is that there are resources that you can research for long distance caregiving, because that's a really challenging thing when you want to provide care or you're a part of a care team and you're not close to the person that you're caring for. It can be very, very challenging. So we're going to move on to the next slide. I think I answered the two things that I wanted to answer. So this is a really important thing, and if you've been on any of my programs before, you might have seen this before. I am a big believer that we need to give ourselves permission. And maybe this is a part of self-compassion and empathy and kindness. Maybe it's a permission slip for self-care. It is important that we are intentional as caregivers, care partners, spouses, as people living with MS, that we give ourselves permission for certain things. If it's to take care of yourself, if it's to have some fun in your life, if it's to not be so hard on yourself. What is something, and you can go to the question box if you would like, something that you would like to give yourself permission for? I know, and I'll get us started. So I give myself permission to offer myself grace, because I know that I am not perfect, and I know that I try really hard, but I give myself permission to offer grace to myself often and to be kind. I'm going to go down and see if there have anybody else. And I've also given myself permission this year to have more fun in my life. Oh, I see one here that is great. So Jill said, I give myself permission to nap. That is one I definitely identify with too. And I hope many of you as well. Giving yourself permission to nap without feeling bad or guilty. Patricia says, I give myself permission to find moments of gratitude daily. Patricia, that is awesome. I do the same, and that is very, very helpful, and it is a very good psychological thing that you can do that can really change the aspect of your day, is to find things to be grateful for. Perfect. I want you to know that you have the ability to give yourself permission to do and things that you need and to live well. Your permission slip may look a lot different than mine or from another person. We also have Tammy that gives herself permission to have fun. I've been told I don't do this enough. Giving yourself permission to have fun is incredibly important to do. And I encourage us all to have a little bit of play in our lives. We're going to move on to the next slide. So this is the chat box. What is one thing you would like to give yourself permission to do going forward? Patty says, sounds crazy, but when I do this, it works. Give permission to put my feet up. Perfect, perfect. Now, anybody else on here, is there anything that you would like to give yourself permission to do? Permission to take it easy. That's what Maddie said. That's a really good one, Maddie. Sometimes we don't give ourselves permission to slow down. I've worked with people before that they've given themselves permission to reach out to a friend, especially when they need something, because they usually just keep it in. Mary Lou said permission to just breathe. That's a great thing. Give yourself permission to just breathe. That you don't have to do anything in the moment, that you can just be still and just breathe. I think that's all that we have. What we're going to do is move on to the next slide. Oh, wait, one more. No name here, but this person wants to give themselves permission to feel my feelings and cry. I am so thankful that you said this. Thank you for being brave to share that. And thank you for sharing that, because we do need to give ourselves permission to feel our feelings and just be with them and to cry. We also have permission to set boundaries. That's an incredible one as well. So we're going to move on to the next slide here. So we're coming to near the end of our program tonight, and so this is where I highlight our next program. So next month we are talking about making space for emotional wellness in your MS journey, and it's going to be on November 19th at 7 p.m. I hope that that you can join us. As you can see from the pace of tonight's program, that I try to make it as interactive as possible. I know it's tough. You only see me. I wish we could all see each other and talk, but it would be hard probably to keep it an hour if it was like that. But I try to make it as interactive and that you can hear from each other as much as you can. But please remember that we have another program coming up next month, and it's going to be perfect timing as we enter into the late fall and winter months, so we can make space for emotional wellness. And we'll move on to our next slide. So I wanted to pause again and thank all of our sponsors. First of all, before we thank our sponsors, I want to thank MS Views and News, because without them, this chat program, MS Mental Wellness Chat, would not be here. And this has really been a great program to help connect people. And I wanted to thank our sponsors, JANSSEN, a pharmaceutical company of Johnson & Johnson, EMD SERONO, Novartis, BIOGEN, BRISTOL-MYERS, SQUIBB. Thank you so much for the support of today's program. And if you know me, this is my classic slide that I put up before I say goodbye, because I'll be back next month. And this is a little bit of the map of North Carolina around where I am. But I don't like to say goodbye. Many of my patients, I'll say, we're going to put a bookmark here. And so that's kind of what I would like to do, is we're going to put a bookmark here, and we will come back next month, and I will see you in November, and have a good evening.